Your Majesty and Excellencies, one looks forward to a stable, normal, international accepted 5-year cycle between elections. I therefore assure you that this government will be for all Basotho without any form of discrimination. A government that is committed to the rule of law, rebuilding and strengthening of the pillars of democracy, and abhors corruption in all its forms. Indeed, it is the third time running that I stand here on the spot engaging in this very same activity, either receiving or giving the oath of office to the Prime Minister. The irony of this is that on all three occasions, it is still Dr. Bagaditam Sisili and I exchanging the oath of office to the Prime Minister. A big hand for Dr. Bagaditam Sisili for having handed peacefully to me. This gesture and many others has cemented our relationship, and we shall remain lifelong friends.
Minister of Lesotho, Tom Tabane. Prime Minister, there's been quite a lot of talk about peace and stability in the region. And of course, Lesotho has always been coming in to say that it's one of those troubled areas. Is there stability and peace now in Lesotho?
We've had a very troubled time, and I myself was victim of that problem. In that, I just came back home not so long ago. I spent a year and a half for almost 2 years living in South Africa because I had had problems with the army management at the time when I was just after I'd left my job as prime minister. I had to leave the country, but I'm back now and I'm prime minister again. And the first thing I've done has been to tell the army to stay in barracks because that's what the law says. And I think they're going to do that. I don't see them doing any other thing except that. Secondly, I'm now working on strengthening the police in order to bring down crime. There are also crimes that were committed against certain people and so on. And I'm asking the courts, the prosecution authority, and everybody to take those matters to court so that they can be settled legally in the courts of law. Now, the last problem I'm facing now is that some of the army personnel who crossed the border with me because they were my bodyguards and so on have not yet found their way back home. And I'm now finalizing arrangements with the SADC facilitation and Deputy President Ramaphosa and SADC in general, that arrangements are being made for those soldiers also to go back home. They will be given the option either to go back and take up their jobs or to take packages and go home. And the last one is the ongoing court martial. I'm going to cancel it straight away because it is unfounded and it is baseless.
Prime Minister, I'm interested to know from your side, what would it take to have everlasting peace in your country?
We have to work at it. You know, there was a time when I was a student at Roma University, and we had South African students who were there, and they were virtually like refugees. There were students from Mozambique, and there was a very large number of students from Rhodesia. And it was always a big worry what their future would have been after they had got all the education they got from Roma University. Now, those are now very, very independent countries. And they got the education from Roma in Lesotho. The first cabinet of President Mugabe had almost half were graduates of Pius XII in Lesotho. So any country in the world can make a decision to straighten its act. And it's a time for Lesotho to do that. And I am devoting all my time now to normalizing Lesotho. And I know I will succeed because I have the support of all these ladies and gentlemen who are gathered here today.
Are you proud of the SADC now in terms of the contribution or the role they've played in trying to assist?
SADC is absolutely great, yes. Now, SADC is I think any organization is as good as the people who are running it. I think the people who are running SADC today are very clear-minded people. And I think SADC has a big future. If it takes the particular tempo it is taking now, SADC is doing very well.
Of course, many countries in the region are facing economic challenges. Back here in Lesotho, how do you perhaps navigate in terms of addressing the issues of the economy?
That man, they called Bill Clinton, was asked a question what the problem was, and he said it is the economy. And he added to the man who was asking the question, he said, is the economy stupid? I will not use that, but I will say to you, quoting Clinton, I will quote him up to the point where he said it is the economy. We now have to work very hard to fight poverty. And to fight poverty, we got to mobilize an economic structure where we can go to the higher level of development in terms of the economy. The problem now is shifting from the politics to the economy. We must go to the fields and plant food, both for our consumption and for sale, so that we get money to send our kids to school. And they go to school eating the surplus that is remaining in the family. Any kid who goes to school without having eaten breakfast will learn at a much lower level than his counterpart who had breakfast. Now, that question of hunger is extremely serious in the region today. It is not talked about well enough because people are ashamed of saying that they have no food. But there are families that have no food. And we have to crack that problem in SADC. And I'm saying to my SADC colleagues, let's put this one aside. Let's make sure that we remove this hunger issue. And the motto of my party is Sarasa Mutukitala. It means man's biggest enemy is hunger. Let's solve the problems of hunger.
I'm glad you touched on the issue of hunger.
Yes.
It goes back to the issue of food insecurity. What would you say perhaps are some of the biggest challenges you are facing as a country, which is Lesotho?
As I said, it's abject poverty. There's poverty now in Lesotho. There's HIV and AIDS, which we haven't conquered yet. And then, of course, it is lack of peace and security. Those three are solvable problems, but we have to work very hard to solve them.
The recommendations on the reforms on the constitution and security reform, how do you ensure that there's implementation in that regard?
We are partnering with SADC, but we are also having support from the international community. The Americans are very forthcoming to help us and so on. I think the immediate past regime was not too keen on involving Americans and people. I'm going to involve them because they are coming in for the correct reasons and they have the capacity to fill the gaps that I would otherwise not be able to fill with our own resource base. So I'm going to involve the international community as well so that we get it right.
As we conclude our engagement, are you inviting us to your wedding?
Yeah, I think you should bring your camera. I'm going to get myself a nice suit and we can take a picture of me in my new suit. And also, of course, the picture of my bride.
Thanks for the interview. That was the Prime Minister of Lesotho.
Yes, I still am.
Because you said earlier there'd been a coup.
I still am Prime Minister of Lesotho. Well, I do not know why it is really being put like that. I said that there was an attempted coup, and that really there was a coup in the making. I said so because I based myself on the fact that the army is out of the barracks, it is patrolling the streets, it is doing what it wants to do without any recourse to lawful authority. And all these things can only manifest one thing, and government that cannot be regarded, or governance issues that cannot be regarded as normal. And when you put all that together, it amounts to issues leading towards a real coup d'etat.
So,
and that's what we are facing.
At what point
I'm not in my office now.
At what point does it become a real coup d'etat? And why has the military acted against you?
I do not quite understand what they did, because I have no quarrel with them. And in fact, I'm Minister of Defense for the country. We haven't sat down and agreed or disagreed on anything, except that I think there's been some disagreement on the change of guard with the end in term of office of the commander, and whether or not we were going to renew his continuation of running the army, or we're going to look for a new person. And the issue of a new candidate is something that government has to look at and consider and reach a conclusion. And that conclusion rests entirely with government to make.
And has the military acted together with your deputy prime minister while you were out of the country?
There has been talk about that, but I seriously do not want to say I would say yes to that or no to it.
Is that because you don't know?
I do not see what benefit would come out of because I don't see what benefit would come out of that if indeed he did. But I hope that that is really not the case. I have not engaged with him on the matter because it was not necessary to do so. Instead, I have engaged directly with the situation itself and looked at the situation straight in the face. Now, whether or not indeed he would be involved, I am not going to say so. But if he was, and indeed if the rumor that he is would be true, that would be very unfortunate, because our formation government of my party, his party, and the third party is the first for our country. And it has been hailed as the whole democratic world as one example in Africa that many other countries would be asked to follow. And I personally would wish that the three of us leading the three parties in the coalition would seriously take ourselves as that which we are, a very good example for Southern Africa and a very good example for Africa as a whole.
Do you expect South Africa to intervene on your behalf? And secondly, Prime Minister, when do you expect to return to Lesotho?
I came here this morning to South Africa. I have not run away. I haven't asked for asylum. I haven't asked for refugee status. I've come here to South Africa because I had to come closer to have consultations with some people I would have wanted to have consultations with. I have not completed that task. I came here only this morning from my house in Maseru. And if I finish early enough, I'll go home. If I don't, I'll continue late into the night negotiating with people around here. And when that is finished, I will just walk back home. The idea that I have run away is not true. I have run away before. This time, no.
Prime Minister Thomas Thabane, many thanks to you for talking to us.
Al Jazeera and that coup that appears to be underway in Lesotho in southern Africa. It's believed the military there has seized control of the police headquarters, jammed phones and stopped radio broadcasts. Well, joining us right now on the line is Tom Thabane, who's Lesotho's Prime Minister. He's in Maseru, the country's capital. Prime Minister Thabane, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us on Al Jazeera. First question, and a very simple one. Who is in control right now in Maseru?
We still have a government in place. There is a temporary disruption of services by the country's own army, led unfortunately by the sitting commander. This unfortunate incident, I think, follows a period where we had a look inside on issues of corruption among ourselves. And some senior members of cabinet were, I think, to my mind, indictable in terms of corrupt practices. This kind of situation bred the kind of instability that I had not, or reaction that I had not expected, because we did voluntarily form an anti-corruption unit in the country and gave it the powers to investigate whoever without exception. In fact, they can investigate me too. I think only the royal family are excluded from this because...
Okay, Prime Minister Thabane, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize for interrupting you. We'll get into the issues in just a second, but I just want to make clear to our viewers right now about the situation in Lesotho. Where are you right now, Prime Minister Thabane? Do you feel safe?
I'm talking to you from a venue in South Africa.
Okay, so you've left Lesotho.
I left yesterday late, and this morning the army commander and the cohorts following him were all over the State House looking for me. What they were going to do, I do not know. But I mean to return home as quickly as possible.
So a coup, would you confirm once again that there is a coup happening right now in your country, Lesotho?
The definition of a coup suits all the happenings that are going on there today.
Okay. What led to this situation, Prime Minister Thabane? Because you were part of a coalition. The coalition that you were part of has accused you of not respecting what you set out to do, and that this is the reason that this situation is happening today, that you didn't respect your engagements. What do you respond to that?
Those accusations are unfortunate. We just had a very serious engagement with the Commonwealth in terms of mapping the way forward on the basic principles that would inform a coalition government. And we used New Zealand as our venue because it has the culture of coalition government. It's hardly a man. And my deputy, the Deputy Prime Minister, led a big delegation there of parliamentarians and ministers, but particularly of ministers, to look at how the New Zealanders go about their business. And we are in the process of implementing these very important measures. But I think the problem is not about coalition. The problem is about this. The problem is about my insistence that we weed out corruption among ourselves.
So,
and I think that if I did not fulfill that function, then I would have to leave my job.
So if the problem is about corruption, you say, well, why did you suspend the parliament? Why refuse to reopen the parliament as the Deputy Prime Minister has been asking for?
The parliament was not suspended by me. It was suspended in agreement with the coalition government. And there were certain issues that were canvassed even before SADC, which we canvassed, and it was agreed that we go back home, remove those obstacles, and reopen Parliament. In fact, Parliament was not closed, it was just prorogued, which means it was a temporary suspension. Just 2 days ago, I was personally in talks with the Speaker, saying to him, can you now make a road map that leads us to the reopening of Parliament, and he is busy with that. Now, that business is not only being done by our Speaker at home, South Africa and 2 other countries have been chosen to help us through this process so that we can reopen Parliament as quickly as possible. Now, allegations that I personally am against Parliament are untrue. As a coalition government, we decided to prorogue Parliament. Proroguing Parliament doesn't mean closing it. It means closing it for a period beyond the normal period.
Okay.
And we are very close to reopening Parliament, and I mean this.
Well,
but when we reopen Parliament, we must not repeat the incident that made us all agree to close it in the first place. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, the army seems to be in control in your country while you're in South Africa, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you so very much for taking the time to speak to us. That was Tom Thabane.
Have you ever walked into a store, tried to buy something nice for yourself, only to find, wait, do I have enough cash? Don't worry, CPay has got you covered. Ask a friend, Nzame through CPay. First, request payment. Enter your friend's details. Confirm the details. Have them approve the request. Then, proceed to make the payment for your purchase using the merchant code provided. Confirm the payment. Now, you are well on your way to enjoying your purchase. At your convenience, you can deposit, send, and receive money using CPay while also taking care of your utility bills. CPay, seamless payments.